Strategy number 2 for the study skill notebook I'm doing is called the Cornell note-taking method strategy. I used it for the livestock production and agriculture area for the 10th and 11th grade levels. The TEKS cover livestock production just like the content area, and I actually chose TEKS within livestock production course that go over animal pests and diseases. So instructions for use, this is lengthy, so I'll go through kind of the main points, and then it'll make more sense when I go over the main example. Basically, you're going to be lecturing over livestock pests and disease, like the TEKS, and you instruct students to get a blank piece of notebook paper for their note taking. You ask them to write the name of the topic, livestock pests and disease, on the top tab of the paper, and then tell them to using their pen or pencil to divide the paper into 3 sections, and I'll show you how the division of those sections are down in the made example. The 3 sections are the Q column, notes column, and summary column, and I'll show you how to do all that in the made example. Like I said, that's just going through that. And in the summary column, you're going to write done after lecture. The Q column, write done after lecture, and the note section, write during lecture. So basically what's that saying is the note section of the paper, you're going to take the notes during the lecture, and then the Q section and summary sections, you don't actually write those during the lecture. You write those after the lecture as a review or as kind of your own study method. And basically the notes, when you write them, you need to kind of like just a neat note taking. They need to be, and as a lecturer, you kind of go through kind of slower so the students can follow this in the correct way when you know you're going to use the Cornell note-taking method. So on the notes, you instruct the students to kind of be short yet accurate with their information, do it in a listed bulleted format, and have space between each main point or note they do. And then in the Q column, you'll tell them to write corresponding main ideas or questions, and once again, this is done after the actual note-taking. So just like a main idea or a question that relates to the actual note they wrote. And then in the summary, that's basically connecting the Q and the note sections together in a summary of what they learned in that column. So basically, the process of writing the Qs and summaries serve as a good study strategy, because the note-taking is just a note-taking deal and it's during the lecture. But then once you do the summary and Qs, that's when students really start to think about the connections in the lecture and quiz themselves or say, how does this relate to one another? That's when some of the deep processing and comprehension comes into play. And then the whole sheet 2, it'll be good as an organized guide for a study guide, and then it'll have all the information from the lecture, and then all that noted information will probably be on the exam. Strengths and benefits, I thought this was a cool one. It had a cool one as in it has a bunch of strengths and benefits. It serves as an organized study guide. It has important information from the lecture, and the students can truly process and think about the notes and information they are taking and learning, because they're going to be coming up with questions or main ideas in the Q section and then going over a summary once they connect their notes to the Qs. So that really serves as a good learning and comprehension process. And then the article mentions a couple things. I'll go over one of them. Says it can improve comprehension and achievement, like I said. And then I thought this was interesting. The study showed that students in science courses who use this Cornell note-taking method had a 10 to 12% higher average on their grades than other students who didn't use it. So that shows that it's good for benefiting student grades too. And this is that's the article I found it from. This is the made example. This will explain the instructions for use a little better. You write the topic at the top, livestock pests and diseases. Then you write a Q column. It's going to be on the left-hand side, about 2.5 inches wide. And then on the right-hand side, the remainder of the paper, you write the note column and write during lecture. It's going to be about 6 inches wide. And then at the bottom, it's going to be about 2 inches in length and take up the whole width of the paper. That's where the summary section is, done after the lecture. So I'll go over a couple of these. Qs, so over in the left section, once again, or actually I'll start with notes since that's the first thing the students do. So you're lecturing, the students are taking the notes. They do this in this section, and all these notes are kind of short, yet concise, and there's spaces between each note. So I wrote like to go over the topic viruses, fungi, and protozoa are infectious, and then like this animal health. You can prevent it by clean water, or you can encourage it by clean water, clean and fresh bedding, proper often grooming. So these are just kind of a neat and organized notes that the students take during the lecture. Then after that, the first thing they do is make cues to the notes they took. Like it can either be like a main idea summarizing the main point of the notes, or it can be like a question that they might see over the notes or the information they grasp. Um, so, like on this note, the main idea I came up with was 4 main types of infectious diseases are usually studied, and then the note jumps into what those are. And then on this note about the animal health, the question could kind of be, what are daily methods that can limit disease occurrence? Once again, you're not giving these main ideas or questions to the students. They're taking the notes and then connecting the notes to some questions or main ideas that they come up with or they think they may see. And then you write a summary. The summary just kind of, I wrote down here, it just kind of summed up the relation between each note to its corresponding cue or question. And that goes in the summary section. Once again, I use this for the livestock production ag content area for sophomores and juniors, and this was a Cornell note-taking method. Thank you.